Hi everyone, Agnes here, as you know, and I've got Marvin back. Hello, Marvin.
What's going on, guys?
We've just had a little chat behind the scenes and we've already made ourselves laugh, so we thought we'd turn the camera on and we'd start recording. Marvin and I are going to talk about, to start, the big thing that seems to be on YouTube: free will versus no free will. So, to start, Marvin, what do you think about that? What do you think? Do you think free will exists? Do you think it doesn't, in terms of, for you, for starters, and then in relation to another person?
Um, well, free will, Free Willy. Um, that's a movie. I don't know
It
if people know
is.
that. That's a movie. Um, so I would say that I think look at free will like how Neville talked about it, and I remember a particular. I don't remember it fully, but I remember Neville telling a story about something that he was like manifesting, dealing with. The person was involved in something that Neville said is, yeah, but he doesn't understand that he's under or she's under my subjective consciousness or mind or something like that in his mind. He said he mentioned something like that. I'm sorry, I'm just
No,
paraphrasing.
Marvin, I know the one you're talking about.
Okay, go ahead.
It's the one where he's trying to get out of the military, and he says that the guy, the colonel, or the guy that was supposed to sign off his papers to get out of the military, he said
Right.
he didn't realize he was under the power, he was under the influence of what he was imagining. That's where it came.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Power of influence. Yeah.
Power of influence. So I mean, that's how I say I look at it. You know
Yep.
what I mean? I'm not gonna go out so far and to say that you can manipulate people, because I feel like that's where the line is crossed. That's where the
Mm.
line is drawn. Like people think that you can manipulate, and that's not something you can do. I tell people all the time when I'm talking to them, like, you can't manipulate the universe.
Yeah.
Don't try to get manipulation mixed up with free will, you know what I mean, and stuff like that, because I feel like too many people try to draw correlations and say, oh no, I can do this, or oh, I can do that, or I can make this person do this, or like they're a
Yeah.
hypnotist or something. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm going to hypnotize you and make you,
Yeah.
tell you love me because that's what I
Yeah.
want you to tell me. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And it doesn't work like that. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. So what do you think?
Mm. I I agree with you. I think, well, I want to use the example. I remember there was a guy that wanted to be with me,
Okay.
and I didn't want to be with him. And I liked him as a person, but it was like I was his specific person. And I knew that because I could feel that he was really intensely focused on
Oh,
me. And
I
I
see.
remember thinking, I don't want to be with him. So in that case, free will for me was to be able to say no to something that was coming at me. Now, in saying that, I still think we can, like in the case of Neville, you can influence by, I think the best influence of all is by doing your self-love. If you do your self-love and you are in a loving state, that state, because Neville talks a lot about states, the state of love attracts love. The state of unlovedness attracts no one being around and loving you. So I like the fact that there's free will, because I don't want someone who I don't want to be with and I'm the object of their attention, that I'm under their influence and control more so, that I have to slide in and be their specific person. I would hate that. I would really hate that, because I've been on that side of it. I've
Right,
also
right.
been on the side of, I want to be with a specific person, and I imagine that in a gentle, open-handed way, worked on my self-love, let go and allowed, and that person has chosen to love me. They're not having to love me. They're not controlled to love me. They're not manipulated to love me. They love me because it's a choice. So I like free will. I like the fact that someone is with me because they choose to
Choose
be,
to.
and they have accepted what I've sent, which is I
Right.
love myself. And then they've, I mean, it didn't happen quickly for me. It happened slowly. So I like it. I like free will. I like the power of influence without
Mm,
manipulation, like you said, without control,
right,
without trying to get,
right,
you
right,
just,
right.
you do it from a healthy, mature mindset of choosing desires and seeing preferences. And some of those are people, money, meaningful jobs, places to travel, whatever it is. So you choose, and then you can bring those things forth, and you do it in a relaxed and releasing kind of way, not in an obsessive way. And I think things can fall at your feet when you're in that happy, relaxed style of manifesting. And I think that's something that I really want to emphasize, is you can manifest in a relaxed fashion. You can relax and enjoy, like what you were describing about before we started recording. You were talking about imagining something so much that when you
Oh
came
yeah,
out of the imagination, you went, holy shit, where am I?
yeah,
Am I here?
yeah.
Like,
Right.
that's an amazing thing, is that kind of manifesting and that kind of visualizing and forgetting where you are. It's like your
Yeah,
spirit's gone to the place and
right,
it's
right.
slingshotted back and you're going, doink, where am I?
That's exactly how it happens.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good thing. But yes, I mean, everybody has the right to choose and believe what they desire, and what they believe is up to them. And there's two different schools of thought about this free will. And I know people go, yeah, but then that means everyone you pushed out doesn't exist.
Yeah,
So I can see why there's confusion. I can
right.
see why. But everyone, as you pushed out, runs parallel to free will. They can coexist. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It's like,
Exactly.
you know, everyone's you pushed out is how people show up in front of you. Yes, you can bring forth a better version of what you want by holding better thoughts about a desire. What do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, listen, when me and you talk, I rarely disagree or say, "Oh, I don't know, Agnes, is that true?" I think that's a lie. Like, I mean, listen, I couldn't have said it better. I just feel like when you talk about free will, I think people really fear that. I
Yeah,
think people that have SP problems, they really fear, free will
yeah,
because the thought that because I feel like it's human nature for us to want to control.
yeah,
And when we're not in control, we freak out. We say, "Oh my God, what am I supposed to do? How do I do this? Like we need to be in control." And
yeah,
to me, that's the ego. That's not your real self. Because I've realized like people don't discern. You got to be able to tell the difference between your ego and your real self. You know
mm,
what I mean? And when a lot of times it's your ego, people are listening to their egos. They're not listening to to their higher selves, and that's why they make the decisions that they make. That's why people are so afraid of free will, because
mm,
free will is the ego being out of control, and the ego doesn't want that, because it's a constant battle. Ego, it's a constant battle between the ego and the spirit, the ego and spirit. Your mind is your ego, you know what I mean? Period. Your spirit is your real self. I tell people that all the time when I talk to them, and it's a
mm,
it's a constant battle. But once you can get over this hump of, you know, self-love, like you always talk about, and I think that's where the fear kind of comes from, lack of self-love, lack of confidence, lack of everything, lack of control over a situation, especially people that have like OCD. You know what I
yeah,
mean? When people have OCD and stuff like that, these different, whatever you want to call it, it's like that gets enhanced, magnified times 10.
yeah,
Somebody like me, yeah, I may want to be in control over, certain things, someone else, yourself or a viewer, they may want to be in control of, more than me, you know what I mean? And then you have somebody who has OCD is like, no, I need to be in control over everything. You know what I
mm,
mean? So I just really feel like it's a battle between the ego and the spirit. And once you can really get rid of that fear and say, there's nothing wrong with, you know, me not having control over that person over there. There's nothing wrong with, you know, what's so wrong with if they reject you? What's wrong with that? If they're not ready right now, what's wrong with that? The problem that's wrong with that is your thinking. It's your
Mm.
perception. It's the ego wants the situation to be resolved now, but it's not going to
Yeah.
happen when you're in
Yeah.
that state. Like Abraham Hicks says, you got to get in the right state. You're not going to track
Yeah.
it till you get in that right state.
Mm.
So
And when you're in a state of I am love, and say someone does something, it's like, it's not that you don't feel the hit. And this is in the conversation that we had prior to, when something happens to you, you've been working on your self-love for a while. It's not that you don't take the hit.
right,
You might get the shock, as you had described it. You might take the hit, but what happens is your processing time is like times 1,000. You might feel it for an hour. You might feel it for half a day. You don't feel it for 6 months.
right.
That is where you see how good your self-love and the work you've done on your inside self, you see how good that is.
So beautiful, so beautiful. I mean, yeah, I mean, like we talked about, to all the viewers, I was in a situation, I was telling Agnes about it when it happened. And I was telling her exactly what she just said. Like my process time was like, I couldn't believe the process recovery time, how quick it was. It was literally like 24 hours.
Mm.
And it was that way because I had realized, like, I didn't realize until that incident happened, it hit me. And I was just like, wow, like I've really done so much work on myself. And I couldn't believe like how I felt. I couldn't believe, I was just like, it was like the most amazing feeling ever, because when a person really does the work on themselves, you don't give a shit about, you know, things like free will and, you know, this and that. Like you literally go on about your life and you just understand and you know, there's a
Mm.
higher knowing that, listen, everything's going to be okay. I'm always going to be taken care of. I
Mm.
am love. You know, I am, and whatever other affirmations you have that you've been repeating to yourself.
Yeah.
That's what this is what we're talking about. You know what I mean? And nothing, it doesn't matter, you know, because you realize, like you said, free will is a beautiful thing. I love the fact that, you know, I'm not under someone's control, you know, and I have to be dragged along when I don't like this person, but they like me. You know, I mean, I feel
Yeah.
like things would be so much more messier if it was actually
Yeah.
like that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And if it was really that easy, you know, if it was really
Mm.
that easy to manipulate someone, I mean, you would see way more of it. But I mean, you don't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because why? We have free will, and I know
Yeah.
a lot of viewers don't want to hear that, but I
Yeah.
mean, it's the truth. We have free will. You can't control anyone. You know, you can't say, oh, I want this to happen to them, because whatever you wish for another person, you're wishing it for yourself.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I get the control thing. I get it.
Yeah.
But in order to really be a master manifester, you have to let go of the control thing. You
Yep.
have to.
And that's where I think Abraham Hicks really excels, because she talks about it again and again and again, the art of allowing. That's basically the whole thing she talks about, is letting go of control. That's what she's not using the word control and letting go of control. She's saying the art of allowing. She's put it in words that helps you surrender and expand and release. It's a release. It's brilliant. I love it. I
It
love it.
is.
So good. And when you live kind of at that level of when something comes in, you can feel your control coming in. You go, hang on a minute. You don't do that anymore. Whew, you relax and release. You relax and release. You relax and release more and more and more. You do that. You practice it. Things sort themselves out in such amazing ways, because you're not in there trying to micromanage things. And control comes from intense fear. That's why control exists in you, because you're fearful.
I
Mm.
agree. I agree so much. I mean, fear is the basis of everything. You know what I
Mm.
mean? And it controls so much of us. And you know, whether it's free will, whether it's, I mean, we actually were talking earlier, and I had brought this up about mental illness
Yeah.
and things like that. And I believe personally, well, I guess I should say that I think a lot of times, because the medical profession, you know, they're a lot of the times they're about money. You know what I mean? They're about profits. They're not really about getting down to the problem. And me personally, I believe that, you know, whether it's fear of free will or, you know, fear of, you know, specific person or whatever, I just think it comes down to a lot of times it's like you said, fear, and then fear from childhood or from some sort of trauma that someone experienced. You know what I mean? And when a person doesn't, I believe that a lot of times people are diagnosed with, you know, mental illness disorder, or they need to take pills for this, take pills for that. But me personally, I think that it's just going back to childhood or going back to that traumatic event that hurt you and actually confronting it.
Mm,
Because what most people do, I realized, is they conceal it. They don't talk about it, you
mm,
know, and they keep it inside and they hold it inside. And something else people got to realize is your organs store emotions. You know what I
mm,
mean? Your body stores emotions. So when, like for instance, sadness will weaken the heart and the lungs, and then anger can weaken the liver. You know what I mean? And then other emotions will weaken, you know, your organs and stuff
mm,
like that. So people got to understand, like when you go through trauma, like you're wherever you hold that pain, that hurt, it's being stored in your body. You
yeah.
know, my best friend, he used to store, he used, whenever he was stressed out, his back used to always start acting up, because that's where he stored, you know, some of his pain from whatever it was he was dealing with. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? His back would get real tight. And this is, it's the same way for everyone. You know what I mean? We just don't realize it. We don't pay attention to, because we're reacting to whatever we're going through. But
Mm,
like I said, it comes back to fear. And I think that when a person can go back to whatever really hurt them and change their life, like life-changing hurt, because that's what I like to call it too, life-changing hurt, is like if you can go back to that moment or those moments and forgive yourself, because you start to say to yourself, you're not worthy, because how could something like that happen to me? I must not be worthy. I must be this. I must be that, you know? Just
yeah.
go back to that moment, as hard as it may be, forgive yourself, forgive the person or people that were involved. You know what I mean? I mean, pretty much forgive everything, you know, forgive everything in that moment, you know, and then no matter how long it takes, you know, and you may not feel nothing when you first do it, you
Mm,
know, the first, whatever, 5 times, 10 times, you know, but don't stop doing it just because you don't see results right away. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And so I think that's it. When people go back to those moments in their lives that changed them, um, I think they will be healed. I think that is what will heal them. You know, that's what will stop them from having the anxiety. That will stop them from having the depression, because all of this, whatever happened to you, all that stuff builds up, builds up, builds up, builds up, builds up. And then it will manifest in your life as anger. It manifests in your life as anxiety. It manifests
Mm,
in your life as depression. It manifests in your life as, you know, whatever, bipolar, you know,
yeah.
and those beliefs, you know what I'm saying? Because people have beliefs, they believe that something's wrong with them.
Mm,
And so that belief alone,
yeah.
if the psychiatrist or doctor tells you, oh, you have that belief alone, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, will just make you go all the way left when you could have kept going right. You know what I'm saying?
Mm, mm. I agree. I think that our bodies are such a big storage, like a suitcase of stuff. And you do need to offload it, you know, whether you write it, whether you meditate, whether you run, whether you go to the gym and punch a punching bag, whether you go into a sauna. Like there's
Yeah,
lots of ways of detoxing the body from emotions. And
absolutely.
it's an ongoing thing because we're human and we get affected by stuff. So by people, by money, by jobs, by like all these external things impact and implode emotionally, depending on how you're interpreting it, because it's the interpretation that kills you.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I agree.
Mm, mm.
And that's what, and like I said, let me be clear, because I don't want, you know, people to hear it and get offended or, you know, feel a certain way. Like I'm not saying all mental health
Yeah.
diagnosis are, this is the cause of it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that there could be, God knows how many people out there that really, you know, have an imbalance chemically in their brain or whatever the case may be, you know, because I'm not
Yeah.
a doctor. But from studying the things that I've studied, the case studies, and um, seeing people in my personal life, you
Yeah.
know, I had a friend of mine come out recently and tell me, a very good friend of mine come out maybe a month ago and tell me a traumatic event he experienced as a child, And after he told me that, everything made sense. Like everything made sense. I was like, this is why he was, on drugs. This is why he was, doing this. This is why he was doing that. Because it always seems like I said, whether it's personal relationships or on television or,
Mm.
wherever I'm hearing it, I always see huge significant change in people once they finally face that trauma.
Yeah.
And on top of that, when their diet as well.
Yes.
Because also I've seen, people, autism, people with anxiety, depression, other mental health issues,
Yeah.
when they changed their diet, they got significantly better,
Yeah.
And so, all of these things, I think combined, like, I think when a person does this, when you can go back to those moments and do the right things, eat right,
Mm.
watch what you're listening to, not just, mental is everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not just one thing. You got to watch what you eat. You got to watch what you listen to. You got to watch
Yeah.
what conversations you're having with your
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's literally like every section you got to be like on top of your shit. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Because one wrong conversation and you could just it could
Yeah.
just go south. You could just spiral back into the same thing. But like I said, I think like if a person can get rid of that trauma,
Yeah.
that hurt, and face that and confront that, I feel like a lot of times those mental health issues would go away.
Mm.
That pain would go away, and people wouldn't be worried about things like free will, or
Mm.
trying to control. Because I think trying to control people, that's another like and thing that comes from a traumatic event or whatever. You go
Mm.
through a traumatic event, and then that event causes you to always want to control people now. You know what I
That's
mean?
it.
So I think that's where that comes from as well. So once you
Mm.
heal that, I think all of those issues can basically dissipate.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Nice explanation. I agree with you. It's that, like, you see so often, like, an adult, one of us, has an issue in childhood that a parent left, or a parent had
Yes,
an affair, or a parent abused the other parent, whether it was verbally or physically, or and then what happens is it rocks your feeling of security.
absolutely.
So therefore, the byproduct of that is, as an adult, I'm going to find somebody who doesn't do that. And that whole thing of you stepping into things with that behind it, that thing is the fuel that attracts another person that brings you the opportunity to go and resolve that stuff. Because it's like the familiarity in who you attract, and you don't even know that they've got that inbuilt when you first meet them. You're just attracted to
Right.
them. You think they're great, you've become friends, and you start having sex, then you have a relationship, and then off it goes. And
Absolutely.
then the thing rears its head. It's like you've chosen someone that's a perfect fit for you to go back and heal that. And if you can look at relationships that way, that, don't like that.
Okay.
It's pushed me and it's hit me in the raw pink nerve. Thank you, rather than how do I get them to change? How can I change? How can I dissolve? How can I release? How can I let go? How can I clear this up? And then you've seen them as the true teacher that they are. And then you are able to offload something you've been carrying for however many years. And then you become a more free spirit and a more free being. And that is, I think, one of the reasons why we do attract and want a specific person in our lives. We get drawn to people that fit together, dovetail together with our baggage. It's not all romance and chemistry and love. It's a process of getting back to self-love and
Mm,
healing that suitcase of stuff that's still sitting there on the floor.
mm.
So it's fascinating. The more you get into this, why do I really want a specific person? It is fascinating when you look at what they poke you in.
Yes. Yeah, oh, listen. Yes, listen. You was preaching just now.
Was I?
Like, oh my God. Like, I don't even know what to say right now. Like, I was getting ready to go get a Bible. You know what I'm saying? I was getting ready to say, Tell the congregation, amen. Congregation say amen. Like, that was insane. Like, the way you just broke that down was, oh man, like, that was incredible. That was incredible.
Uh, well, you know what? I got really good in my previous four relationships at not seeing that lesson, at not
Yeah.
understanding that whole scenario, and having to do it yet another time.
Well, that's the part that sucks, because it happens to all of us. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's like sometimes like if the universe had a hand, would like smack you in the face, like, psh,
yeah,
dummy, you
yeah.
just went through that, 6 times already. Like, you want to go through this the seventh time? Like, I'm trying to show you something, and you keep
Mm,
falling into the trap. And I mean, we all do
yeah.
it. We all do it.
Yeah, and when you keep having a reoccurring scenario and the face of the person changes because you found somebody else, you go, okay, I am the common denominator. What is it in? You got to ask yourself at some point.
You have
It's
to.
not me having to pick a better person. It's me having to become a wiser person. That's the lesson.
And
I'm
yeah,
getting it. I'm getting it. I'm getting it again. I'm getting it again. What are you doing? You know?
that's when that universal hand comes out and just goes. But because
Dunk.
people change relationships to avoid changing themselves.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
That's a night. That's well said.
Yeah, people change relationships to avoid changing themselves.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what they know. That's what they're used to. Oh, I'm used to being in control. I'm not used to free will. I don't like this free will thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, like I said, but all of this to me stems back from whatever uh, the traumatic event a person went through, whether it was a bad breakup or, something when you were younger, something out of your control. I mean, whatever the
Yeah.
case may be, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? That's where, like, I think if you can heal that, I
Mm.
think all of those insecurities, all of the anxiety, all of the depression, all of the whatever other, things that the doctor said that was wrong with you, and I want people to understand that too, that I'm saying that. I want everybody out there to understand something. Nothing is wrong with you. Okay.
Mm.
I think that is something so big. I think people think
Yes.
that something is wrong with them. Like,
Yeah.
so, and that's an affirmation. Even if you don't say it out loud, even if you feel it, as we
Yeah.
talks about the feeling, that's
Yeah.
even worse. Because when you
Yeah.
feel something, like, and I want everybody out there to understand and know that, like,
Yeah.
nothing at all is wrong with you. Like, you're
Yeah.
fine.
You're
Stop
fine.
telling yourself that. Stop listening to the doctor. If the doctor tells you something's wrong,
Yeah.
you gotta have a strong belief, strong mind
Mm.
to say, you know what? No, there's nothing wrong with me.
Yeah.
I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm going to keep getting better. I'm going to, do this. I'm going to do
Yeah.
that. Because I've seen too many people heal themselves from mental illness on their own with no medicine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I just wanted to say that to the viewers.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. There is this kind of cloud that hovers over people, which is I'm not good enough and there's
Right, right,
something wrong with me. I agree
right,
with you.
right,
It's like, and you think, where do I get that from? Like, and
right.
really, doesn't matter whether it came from your family, from your religion, from your school, from your siblings, like who, it will come from somewhere. But you've got to go, hang on a minute. I'm walking around feeling like there's something wrong with me. I'm perpetuating this thing. I'm going to work on letting that go. First, I'm going to be aware that that's how I feel, that I think there's something wrong with me and that I'm not good enough. And
Exactly.
I'm going to work on I am good enough and there isn't anything wrong with me. And whatever I've got going on is just a byproduct of my childhood. And I know how to correct that.
Right,
I'm
right,
going to
right,
work on that. I'm going to free
right.
myself from that,
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
And boy, we've
I'm
all
gonna.
got it. Look, I have yet to meet anybody that hasn't got something that happened in their childhood. Even if you had a really good childhood, something
Right.
could have happened to someone else in your life that you really loved, and that impacted you. So, like secondary impact happens, to your parents, to your brothers and sisters, to someone that you loved at school.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard a lot of people, they've lost that someone in their class died when they were like 7 or 8 and they never got over it. Like all these things happen and impact us. And
Yeah. Yeah.
you go, okay, that's my suitcase of stuff I got to let go of, you know?
Absolutely. Listen, you know what?
Yeah.
As you were saying that, I just had like Oprah says, Oprah likes to call it her aha moment.
Yep.
And I just had an aha moment just
Yeah.
now. So let's
Tell
share
me.
this to the world, exclusive on Agnes Vivarelli's YouTube channel. Exclusive aha Oprah Marvin Agnes moment. Okay, here
Yep.
it goes. The reason why I'm thinking about it now,
Yeah.
about all the people I talk to and that you talk to, the reason why, and I don't know, I could be gassing myself up right now because I'm like excited. So I don't
Yeah.
know if I already
Yeah.
said this. So I could be just bullshitting, but anyway. So basically I just figured out why self-love doesn't work when
Okay.
people do it. And self-love doesn't work when people try to do it because they haven't gone back to these traumatic moments and healed those. And I think that's the first step. That's the first step.
Yeah.
That's why self-love does not work when most people say, but Marvin, I'm doing self-love. But yes, I'm doing self-love.
Yeah.
Self-love will really only work when you go back
Yeah.
and heal the trauma first.
Yeah.
If you try to do self-love, I feel like without healing the trauma,
Yeah.
it's kind of like
Icing a rotten cake.
is I mean,
Yeah.
are we not like perfect? Like
Yeah.
that was like the
Yeah.
that's exactly what it's doing. You're putting
Yeah.
icing on a rotten cake.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
putting rotten fruit in with other fresh fruit, which is
Yeah.
gonna make it rotten. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
That's so true.
I just realized that. I don't know if I realized that before, but
Yeah.
I feel like that just clicked with me. Like that's
Yeah.
why when people say self-love's not working, I don't
Yeah.
feel self-love.
Mm.
You don't feel self-love, it's not working because you're not going back
Yeah.
to the cause. You're not healing the
Yeah.
cause. Once you forgive
Yeah.
yourself and heal that trauma that happened in
Yeah.
your life and then do self-love, I
Yep.
swear to God, it's probably going to work. I swear
For
to God.
sure. For sure. And I think that's why, I get emails from people saying, oh, I got on the meditation channel and I was doing this meditation and I just cried and cried and cried. I cried for like 24 hours. Like, excellent. You've just offloaded a whole bunch of old crap. And then you get that, this intense relief because it was this burden on your body, on your spirit, on your soul. It was a burden. You've offloaded it.
Right.
Excellent. Now you've cleared a certain level of stuff. But I think that process, you have to do it whenever you get poked in the raw pink nerve. You got to go back,
Yeah.
lay down, go, okay,
Yeah.
what am I feeling? I got to let that out. Is it anger? Is it hurt? Is it resentment? Is it worry? What is it? Guilt? Like a lot of stuff is like you say, it's piled up over the years in childhood. And that's why I often say, go and do the inner child meditation, whether you do Dr. Hugh Lenz, whether you do mine. I'm sure there's other ones on YouTube.
Right.
Do an inner child. Louise Hay does some where she takes you back to the inner child. It's beautiful. I'll put those links down below for people that want to do some more clearing. But you go back, and I agree with you. Self-love can only be, you can do a certain level of it. But part of self-love is doing the clearing underneath. You have to confront that
Can't skip
stuff
steps.
at some point because
You can't skip steps.
you can't skip that step. And that's why, I do agree with Neville. Imagination creates reality, but when it backfires, when it doesn't work, it's not there's
Exactly.
something wrong with you. It's that you
It's
have
not.
missed a couple of steps that would possibly help you with Neville's imagination creates reality and working on your self-love. It's almost like, okay, we've discovered now having this conversation, there's actually three levels. You do your clearing of your inner child stuff, you work on your self-love, and then you can hit the imagination creates reality and it be more effective if
Oh,
you do
beautiful.
that.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said.
Yeah.
Because as we were talking, it kind of just like hit me. No, as you were talking, I'm sorry, and I was just like, like it just rang. It was like I
Yeah.
said, the aha, like, and I
Yeah.
realized because I used to think that to myself sometimes, like, okay, why is self-love not working?
Yeah.
Like, why is self-love not working? Like, it worked for Agnes. It worked for me. Why is it not working for this other person? And then and like as you were talking, like that's when it hit me. It's like, boom. Well, it's not working because
Yeah.
they're skipping steps. They skip the step of healing and forgiving whatever caused them
Yeah.
great pain or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's why because I feel like people listen to us or listen to your
Yeah.
But like you said, I think something a lot of people don't do. I think a lot of people don't do that inner child meditation. I
Yeah,
think
they don't.
I
And the
think
thing
that,
is, Marvin,
go
you
ahead.
just got to look. Like I look at my channel maybe once a month and I go, okay, what's being watched the most? And it's the specific person meditations. It's the how to get an X back. It's the read the playlist where I read how to get an X back success stories. But if
Right, right, right.
people watched the inner child meditation twice as much as they watched any of those, they're fast track to getting where they want to go. It's like it's this hidden um, little sibling, the quiet one that no one really talks to. That's the inner child meditation. That's where the
Yes.
real gem is. And it's hidden behind success stories, how to manifest, how to get your SP to do this. All of that is just a whole bunch of bright, shiny objects that people
It
get
is.
pulled towards. But the real jewel, the thing that's really sitting there behind the open sesame door to what you want, it is the inner child meditation. Clear your shit.
Yes. Yeah. Listen, what you just I listen, I just had another aha moment
Yeah,
because
go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, because like we always say, because I'm a firm believer and you're a firm believer as well. Like self-love is it. Like we always preach self-love,
Yeah.
self-love, self-love. We always say self-love will take care of everything. Now I think I'm gonna backpedal a little bit on what
Yeah.
I said, and I'm gonna say what you just said. I'm gonna
Yeah.
backpedal and say self-love is important, but first and foremost, what's
Yeah.
before self-love is
Yeah.
this inner child stuff you
Yeah.
just said.
Yeah.
That's more important than doing self-love first.
Yeah.
So if we had to do steps, I would say step one is most definitely the inner child meditation,
Yeah.
like you said. And then step two, after you do the inner child meditation and that starts to work for you, then step two can be self-love. You know what I mean? And then after you do that, then step three can be your imaginal scene, or something like that. But before you do the first like 2, 3 steps, you can't even don't because people I feel like they try to do self-love and then or they don't do self-love and they just jump right into the imaginal scene.
Yeah,
It's
they
like, yo,
do. Yeah.
you jump right into your imaginal scene and you have zero self-love still. So what's going
Yeah.
to happen is if your imaginal scene does come to fruition, you're going to get your SP back and then, or you're going to talk to your SP and then you're going to break up again because you're not
Yeah.
ready, because you have no self-love, because you didn't do the inner child work. You see what I'm saying?
And you relate to your specific person like your inner child. That's what happens, and that's when everything backfires because you're relating as a child to this specific person, and they're not your parent, but you're emotionally treating them as if you want them to be. And that's why people leave, because they go, I don't want to be like your parent. I want an adult standing next to me and have a relationship with an adult, but your impulses, your ways of relating are still from the inner child. The inner child is still ruling your speech. Why don't you love me? Why don't you spend more time with me? When are you going to give me a commitment? When are you going to be here? When are you going to make me a priority? That's the speech of a child. And that is old stuff from you and your mom and dad.
Whew. Oh man, listen, you see my face again?
Yeah.
Oh man, like that. Listen, that's the face we make when, like, over here in the States and stuff, when people are doing like rap battles and stuff and they rapping
Yeah.
and somebody has a nice line, your face be like that's the face you had me making just now. Like I'm just listening to you, like
Yeah.
talking that
Wow.
talk right now. She talking that
Yeah.
talk.
I
Like,
like, I don't think I've actually thought of it as clearly as this, like on my own. I think the fact that we've nutted this out a little bit has
yeah,
really made this clearer
yeah,
in there is 2 steps before imagination creates reality, before scripting, before any kind
yeah,
of living in the end or vision board or any of this stuff. That stuff is, you're putting the cart before the horse if you do
yes,
that stuff first. And this is why I agree with you. People say, I'm trying to do this, but it doesn't work. I keep going back to my mind keeps wandering. My mind's distracted, all this stuff. Your inner
yeah,
child is still running around going, are you gonna get this shit out?
yeah, absolutely. And that's what you said. And it's like, and what you also what something that you did say and that I agree with is you know, people got to stop looking for, if something happened between you and your parents, you got to stop looking for your parents and your significant other.
Yeah.
You know, you have to stop, because I know people like that. And I had
Mm.
talked to a girl recently that had told me something like that. Like she's looking for her dad in the guys that she's dealing with, and they're all, you know, shitholes. You know what I'm saying? Because her dad was a shithole. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
when, like, I understand like these situations are very, you know, fragile, and but you have to, at some point you have to be an adult about the situation. You know, Bill
Mm.
Gates has a saying, if you're born poor, it's not your fault. If you die poor, it 100% is your fault.
Yeah.
So to any decision a person is making, and you're over 17, 18 years old, you're an adult.
Yeah.
So whatever happened to you when you were a child, it's not your fault.
Mm.
But understand and believe every decision you're making as an adult, it 100% is your fault.
Mm.
And so you have to go back and correct it, because you're an adult now. You're not a child anymore. You know, you don't look for your parents. You know, don't look. You know, whatever happened, it can't happen like that. You know, you got
Yeah.
to just go back and heal those moments so you can move on and
Mm.
find something or someone that, you know, is really going to be beneficial to yourself and your life.
Yeah. This is where we play the smooth jazz.
And we'll be right back with Agnes Vivarelli on 105.3 WBAS.
Oh
What's
God,
happening?
this has been such a conversation. It's
It
huge.
was. It was so beautiful, because like as you were talking, like you had my face like this the whole time. I was just like, because
I'm
you were
gonna,
just saying so many gems, and I'm just listening to you like, God, like she's
yeah,
preaching right now. And then, you
it's
know, I
so
had those aha
funny.
moments, and I'm just like,
Mm.
wow. Now listen, this conversation was I don't know, it was presidential, man.
Yeah.
This is like Donald Trump shit. I want to thank you, Agnes. This conversation was so beautiful. I love Australia. I love France. I love Canadians. Canadians really think they love me. They're beautiful people. They really, really are.
You do that voice very well. You do that
Yeah.
voice very well. I just had a flash of him.
Yeah. Trump, yeah,
Uh,
he's a funny guy. I laugh
eh,
at him all the time. I don't really
yeah.
care about what he has to say. I just think he's hilarious.
It's
I
hilarious.
just think he's hilarious.
There's been some beauties lately, which we won't revisit. But yeah, it's an interesting. It is. This stuff is so. It runs deep. There's so many levels to your self discovery, your self exploration, and I think it's like you kind of do all sorts of stuff, but you eventually will hit the inner child work. You can't avoid that.
You
That's it.
can't.
Yeah, that's it.
You,
That's
that's
where
it.
it all starts. That's where all the
And I
problems come
and I
from.
just realized that from this conversation tonight. Like I literally realized that now after talking to you and
Yeah,
studying this stuff for however long. I'm just
yeah.
like, wow, it hit me tonight as we were talking. Like that's why it's not working for people. Is because you're skip so many people I know, they're just going right to their imaginal text scene, get a text message. They're not doing the self-love, they're not doing the child work. They're like, oh, let me just do my imaginal scene to get the text message.
Yeah,
And it's not gonna work. You can't skip those first few steps, like you said.
yeah, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
This is good. This will be a good one. This will be a
I
good
was gonna
one.
say this is gonna be, you gotta put in the thumbnail must watch with like all the exclamation points, like must watch, put like emojis and shit. You know, put like yeah, put emojis and shit.
No, what
Play.
I'll have to do is just put up how to attract a specific person, foolproof method, and then everybody will watch it.
Oh, yo, you will literally break the internet. I swear, you will literally break the internet if you do that.
The
You
best
will do
success story of all time. Then that'll bring them in to listen to what they really need to hear.
and then they hear it and they're gonna be like, man, I ain't listening to this channel no more.
No more. She's tricked me.
Yeah,
They've
she
tricked
tricked me.
me. Yeah.
I thought she was gonna tell me I didn't have to do self-love. I thought she was gonna tell me I could skip all of that stuff and just get my person back.
Yeah, exactly. Oh God, how funny. Well, Marvin, thank you. That was a cracker. That was a big, explosive, amazing firecracker.
It sure was. That was awesome.
Oh, that was so good. Well, I'll put the links down to what we talked about, the different, like the inner child meditations, the two. I will also put down Yeah, I'll have to go back through because I can't remember what we talked about. There was so much good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, mate, do you want to say bye to everybody before we go?
Yeah, listen, man. I just want to say I love the people. I love all of you, all the viewers. Thank you. Please vote for me in November because I'm going to stop the coronavirus. I am going to stop.
And I have absolutely nothing to add to that because that is just the perfect exit. Marvin, stay on. We'll say goodbye in private. Bye, everybody. We've lost it today, but hopefully you got something out of it.